tried very hard not to have any zombie takeout, but they twisted my arm, One B movie led to another, and then we put on the shock treatment, and then we all started getting crazy, and then, John and Scotto started wrestling.
Hello and welcome to episode 552 of Zombie Takeout,
Zombie takeout.
the B Movie and Cult Movie Podcast. I'm John,
And I'm Scotto.
and I was trying so hard not to laugh while you were doing that, but that ending still got me.
Oh, virtual wedging.
So before we get to this week's movie, we're getting near the end of the year, and I always have to go early on this. I've been putting together my top 10 lists.
Oh,
I sandwiched a couple of 4.5s between the fives because in hindsight, I thought they were better.
huh. Oh, wow. Okay.
There's three 4.5s amid the fives. I didn't just go with the straight ratings. In hindsight, I think I overestimated two or three movies.
I'm trying to remember, we didn't discuss before we started if we've got two left or one.
Two, two left.
Two. All right. All right.
And on to this week's movie, which is from 2016, The Dwarvenaut. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Gary Con. Come for the D&D, stay for the Gygax wrestling.
Also brought to you by Unearthed Arcana. All the other books set the foundation for what the game is, but Unearthed Arcana showed there were no limits. Thief, acrobat, anyone? All right. So we have this. Wow, he's this artist. He was doing sketches in like Times Square during the day. I think I even recognized some people from that I'd seen on other things about just artists in New
Oh,
York
oh wow.
in that intro. Just some of the characters that are hanging out in that
Mhm.
area. And I'm trying to think. He got into the idea of making, of course he tried, mainstream art and,
Mhm.
fringe art and just, but his real calling, of course, was Dungeons and Dragons. He's DMing at night. He's doing this sketches by day. I'm trying to think. Did it say when he got into making
The
the
terrain?
uh, the scenery?
Uh, I don't think so. He had a job coming out of grad school where he was painting miniatures or collectibles. And that kind of led into it. He was 49 when they made the movie. So maybe about 20 years earlier. Uh,
Well, it showed like him
so
going to I
uh,
guess, the office for the business title and stuff.
yeah, somewhere in the 90s probably. Well,
But you got to
that was
imagine
when he was doing the paintings. So probably early noughts by the time he
he
maybe
somehow
launched it.
he was probably doing something
Mhm.
on a small scale,
Yeah, right.
for a close circle selling it, stuff
Hmm.
to,
Hmm.
and then getting the idea of going to do it formally. And then I think I'm trying to think of the difference between what he was doing before this and then this grand idea of just the whole fucking scene, doing the whole thing instead of just little bits of it here and there.
Hmm.
But he does, and I think it was a newfangled thing at the time, the Kickstarter. He and he needed to get $2 million to get his idea going. And of course, I'm like, why the fuck would he need $2 million? But of course, a lot of that was to get into a new studio
Hmm.
in Brooklyn, because I imagine that's got to cost a lot of money to get into.
I did your thing and Googled while you were talking.
Yeah.
Dwarven Forge was founded in 96. So I was right.
Wait, and that was a funny scene because it was about, arguing with the business,
Yeah. The
the
name,
bureaucrat.
yeah, the person at the town hall when he was setting up the business said, you can't use a made up name for your business. He didn't know the word Dwarven. How many business and Stefan Pokorny is his name, who the founder of Dwarven Forge and who the person the movie is focused on. Um, he said, "How many other businesses have made up titles, made up words in their
Right.
names?"
And this is before the era of pharmaceutical ads
Yeah,
go
true.
galore.
That's
And it's like the
a
bullshit.
good point.
And I think I work for a company that is responsible for a lot of those
Ooh.
technical names for them,
Uh,
honestly.
wow.
But that's neither here nor there. So he goes for this Kickstarter because he's going to do these giant,
Yeah.
scenes that you could purchase for yourself or,
Should mention he makes his company Dwarven Forge. They make terrain for D&D, so buildings and walls and that sort of thing. And they are now the de facto standard. They're hugely
yeah,
successful. The biggest, actual play streams use them. They're people dream of saving up for their stuff, so they're huge now. But yeah, this was his business.
right. I mean, there's no way if I was a kid and this was
Yeah.
happening coming out. I, in fact, there were probably some things like this, but we're like that is just
Mhm.
not of our
Yeah. That's part of the reason I wanted to review this was because you played a lot before this was a thing, and I wanted to get your take on this addition to the game.
Well, when we played, I think a lot of the times we just used it if it was necessary to do the dimensions of the area.
Yeah,
Um,
graph
my
paper.
buddy's father had the figurines that we
Uh-huh.
just reused for like 10 years over and
Right.
over again. Um, those were important because you needed the formation that you were marching
Mhm.
in,
Right.
and this is how you were being attacked. If the dimensions were important, there were times where you would just take pencils and shit.
Okay.
Just, okay, this is the size of the room you're in, the shape of the room, and go with that. But most of the time, we wouldn't even do that.
Graph paper is fairly common. Probably still is.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, well, of course you mapped
you
with
know,
graph
you
paper. Yeah.
maps that you just on paper that you print out, or just draw. Um, but this terrain was a step forward in realism, immersion. Um, anyway, continue.
So, yeah, right. So the whole movie is pretty much about him selling this new. Um, I think I'd like to think he was doing this before, but this was
Yeah,
just a large,
they had done two.
supersized thing of it.
Yeah, they had done two Kickstarters before that were very successful. This one, he needed a lot more money. He needed 2 million for this city set that he had built, and
And a
he
lot of it was just getting into the new studio,
mhm,
which,
yeah,
I
they
mean,
were also
he
building
did,
and getting into a new workplace.
and it makes sense. If you are making something of that scale,
Uh-huh.
you would need a larger
Oh yeah,
studio to get in.
they
However,
basically had an
you're
apartment before this.
right. However, you are talking about real estate in Brooklyn,
Mhm.
which maybe back then it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, things in the last 5 years have gone out of control pricing wise. Like a 40, 50% increase. It's something crazy like that.
So a lot of it is
And
just following, how the Kickstarter is doing and getting into Pokorny, did I say it right? Um, I think that's it. His backstory and how he got where he is.
and of course the game itself and going to the cons and how the game is still living
Yeah.
on.
Mhm.
And it was funny seeing Lake Geneva. I'm
Mhm.
surprised they didn't show the library because there's a statue of a dragon
Oh,
in front of the Lake Geneva Public
okay.
Library.
I was wondering because this the movie came out in 2016, same year Stranger Things. Um,
Oh, maybe that didn't exist then, now that I think
that's what
about
I'm
it.
wondering because he shows Gygax's house, Gary Gygax, one of the co-creators of D&D, and he's saying it should be a monument. Um, the movie was released in August. Stranger Things debuted like a month before. Critical Role
Hmm.
debuted the year before, in early 25
Wow.
or early 50,
Okay.
in early 2015. Um, so his timing was perfect.
From what I understand now, and I'm not sure maybe if this was going on back then,
Mhm.
but you can rent either the whole house or the basement
Oh,
to play a game in it.
okay. Wow.
And then of course there's like another house around
Hmm.
the corner where
Yeah.
there's it's like pretty much a whole gift shop of D Dungeons and Dragons. Not really gift shop, but just everything Dungeons and Dragons that you could,
Uh,
modules and
right.
whatever you could purchase there.
So this was right on the cusp of when D&D was going to go very, very big.
As a matter of fact, I think I got you a souvenir from that shop and I've never sent it to you.
Oh, okay. So I'm wondering if, Gygax's house is more of a monument now, and perhaps that dragon statue was put in and that shop were put in, after the fact, because, this was the what's the word I'm looking for? The turning point before it was all just about to blow up, which is why I say his
Hmm.
timing was exceptional.
It is funny for me to think of it that way because it's like, oh, wasn't this just always there? Because I remember from the 80s and stuff.
Critical Role brought all the geeks in, all the people who were kind of
Yeah,
curious about D&D but had never really played it like me, and obviously all the long-time players. And then Stranger Things made it mainstream. So like,
brought in the
yeah,
non-geeks.
brought in, the masses, slug D&D on Stranger Things, found out about Critical Role, and a number of other actual play shows, some of which are very big, launched around the same time or just after Critical Role, inspired by them. So, it all just blew up at the time he was trying to get this Kickstarter going.
And to finish the impromptu
Yeah.
plot summary that has spun out of control,
Ah.
there's about his background and his parents, and unfortunately his mother passes away
Mm.
right before the Kickstarter, of course, hits. And as much as one could expect after a mom passes away, hilarity ensues.
Love that they start with the close ups of the terrain so you
Yeah,
can really see the detail of them. And I also liked what he said about D&T showing who people really are.
I disagreed with it though.
Really?
It's
Okay.
well, it's you're not playing yourself.
No. But you are given a lot of power, fictional power, in a fictional universe. So you can lean into parts of yourself that you would not lean into in day to day life where there are consequences, where there are
Hmm.
actual consequences.
But I mean, Dungeons and Dragons showed me that I could act
Mm.
because you're given a character, or you made the character yourself, and you have to think of how that person would react to different things.
Mm.
It's
Uh,
you're the best way to describe it to a non-player is you're playing a movie.
yeah.
The DM is the writer, director, producer, and the characters are, you know, are the main characters
Yeah.
and they're unscripted.
The players
So
are the main
it's
characters.
right. It's improv and
Mm.
problem
Yeah.
solving.
It's improvised storytelling.
But, well, really, I mean, the DM's got to know where it's going.
Well,
And of
yeah,
course, be able to roll with the curveball.
a lot of
Yeah.
DMs, particularly like Mercer from Critical Role and Mark Humes from High Rollers D&D, which is the one I watch all the time, have said that they don't really prepare that much ahead of time. Like they
Hmm.
have a basic idea of what they want to do in the next episode, or what they where they want the next kind of short part of the story. They're not planning months in advance.
Oh, no, I would never go months
Yeah,
in
they're
advance. That
planning.
would be
They have a
insane.
basic idea of what they want to do in the next session, but they leave a lot of room because the players, are gonna go sideways. It's
Like
inevitable.
I'd have a few ideas where I'd want it to go, but I mean, ahead of that session, but everything was about that
Yeah,
session. And then sometimes it would be like, ooh, I gotta go rewrite that.
yeah, and
That's a different idea for the next session.
you don't want to be that tight about what is going to happen in that session because the party's going to do something you're not expecting.
Right. You don't want to be that guy that's just like, no, no, you can't go there and you can't go there.
Right,
Be like that old school game that just had the invisible force field
right.
to not let you
Uh-huh.
go any further.
Yeah. The new Critical Role animated show just started. The Mighty Nine. Saw the first episode, loved it. Highly recommend checking it out. Um,
Cool. but really back to
but
the game
well,
itself.
I was going somewhere.
Oh,
During the campaign, it's called the Mighty Nine. During this campaign, it was their second big campaign. They went to this dock to meet with someone. Shit went sideways. They ended up stealing a pirate ship.
that's, I think I've had that happen too.
And the look on Mercer's face, he didn't say it, but you could just see, oh fuck, what am I gonna do now?
But I I think I did something like that once or had that happen to me, and
Uh,
it was like, that's on me. I left this shiny toy
yeah.
just kind of hanging out there and not thinking that they were gonna make a big deal out of it.
Right.
And then they got it. I was
Mhm.
like, oh fuck. I gotta
Like,
rewrite
yeah,
like whatever
exactly.
the whole next like 3 weeks for
That's why you don't want to plan too much. Anyway, continue.
like even though it was like a rough outline of where I wanted it to go,
Uh,
them taking the ship
right.
just zoop.
Yeah.
But the whole point though is it's not about you,
Right.
it's about your character
Yeah.
and what the character would or would not do, you know?
Yes, it's the theoret on paper. Yeah, you should be embodying the character, but you're creating the character. It's
True.
not like you're following a script. It's all improvised. So you have a backstory theoretically. You have an idea of
Right.
who this person is. I don't think a lot of people, like there are very serious people who really try to create someone who isn't them and be that person. I think a lot of people just use it as a power fantasy.
Hmm. Well, I mean, for me,
Mhm.
for at
Yeah,
least for the group I was
yeah, yeah.
with, we would just, for this campaign, we're going to do something different, you know?
Mhm.
This time I'm going to be like the Boy Scout. Well,
Right.
this time I'm going to be the asshole.
You really understood the game and took it seriously, but I think a lot of players, for a lot of players, it's just a chance to, like they say, Halloween is the chance to let go of your inhibitions and go into who you can't be most of the time. I think a lot of people treat D&D like that.
Oh, I mean, even by that playing that way,
Mm.
you were still doing that.
Sure.
Everything
Yeah.
that, you know,
Mhm.
if you're the assassin, you're
Yeah.
not going to be like the assassin with the heart of gold.
Right.
That would just be weird.
You could work that. Like when I first created a character, I should say I watch a lot of D&D. I have for nearly a decade now. I haven't played yet. I've had a few opportunities. The game's never materialized. Um, the first character I created, I am so glad I never played because he was the asshole rogue who was basically going to force the party into taking him.
Well, and of course, to be a rogue, you kind of have to be an asshole, you know?
Well, a little bit. But like he was going to be just the most insufferable asshole. But the party has to take him because he's one of the because I'm one of the players. You have to make this work. And he was basically going to force them into it. I'm so glad I never played him. And
So
I've
wait,
seen people talk about like don't ever play a character like that.
am I the only one that's played this game where I played a nerd just to be something else?
Baby.
Well, because I mean, the magic user,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
saw
Wizards are
who
nerds.
would be a magic user?
Right.
He'd be a nerd.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there are people who do that, but I'm just saying. I think a lot of people also take it as power fantasy. I think it's
Yeah.
probably more that. Um, Getting back to the film,
Yes.
showing him getting out of bed in the beginning was weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of this that's pretty weird.
Yeah. I did like this, him talking about how the city that he's creating for the game was inspired by growing up in New York.
Right. And you know, the one thing that I couldn't believe that he was talking about as a revolutionary thing
Hmm.
was using the city
Yeah.
because you couldn't just have the same going through caves and dungeons every fucking week. You had to mix up where, sometimes you took it out to the high seas, sometimes, yeah, well, there was even a few times I took it into space. But the um always the town was a great thing to have because you could do so many different things with it. You could do the supernatural, invading the town
Right.
or a war in the middle of the town or just a barroom brawl that just got out of hand and went into the town.
I think you maybe were a bit more creative than a lot of people because I've watched a lot of D&D
Maybe.
and I've played a lot of MMOs, which are kind of in the same vein. And most of the time, you're only in the city to get your next quest and, relax a bit.
And maybe when I pulled that, like, because I played in Mississippi
Uh,
and they made me DM for some reason. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe because I had.
mhm.
I think they were shocked because they thought I had them fooled into thinking they were just there to get their next mission. And then all of a sudden, like a whole Western style, like, duck hunt thing happened where they're like, fighting their way to get out of the bar and just, I mean,
Nice,
just,
nice.
so they just weren't expecting it.
Uh,
But yeah, out of all the sets that he did,
uh,
the town is the one that was like,
yeah.
ooh, if I had a G burning a hole in my pocket and I still played this game, uh, Mrs. Scotto would have to be very understanding.
uh, yeah, I've looked at some of the prices. They're a bit. I mean, given everything that goes into them, I understand
Oh
why,
yeah,
but
of course.
they're a bit pricey.
And I would have to get it painted because I suck.
Uh, I was surprised that the company almost went out of business in 2011 before they had a Kickstarter. Because the
Well,
Dwarvenaut
like
is
you
just
said,
huge
it
now.
wasn't until like,
Yeah,
Stranger
yeah.
Things really kicked it back.
But there wasn't much drama in the 2 million Kickstarter because I now
No.
know they're huge. I know it all worked out.
Right.
If I'd seen this in 2016, then maybe there would have been a bit more drama. They were watching a movie in one scene in the office while working on some sculptures. Was that Excalibur? It looked like
I think it
something we've
was.
reviewed.
I think it was Excalibur.
I loved the cheese top hat when he was in Wisconsin. I've seen the triangular cheese head. I've never seen a cheese top hat.
No, me neither. And I've been to Wisconsin many a time.
Hmm.
In fact, I already said I've been to Lake Geneva, but when he was landing in Detroit, I was like, that doesn't look like Milwaukee.
Like the story of how Gary Kahn started. It was after Gary Gygax's funeral. Luke just had some people by to play games, and it just kind of grew from there.
Why did he need a connecting flight from New York to Milwaukee?
Hmm.
Like a connecting flight adds so much time to your flight.
Hmm.
I would think you'd be able to fly from New York to Milwaukee direct, but oh,
I think you probably I make I'm pretty sure you can, but maybe it was cheaper. Um,
yeah, probably.
Also loved the stories about how out of hand Gary Kahn was getting. They partied one night and like the Gygax brothers started wrestling and like one gave the other a wedgie.
Describing them pulling their underwear
Yeah.
off out of the that's a severe wedgie.
Hmm.
And I thought it was nice what was his name getting concerned about uh
One of the older
although
guys. Yeah,
I don't know if it was a monetary reason if he had just
maybe.
invested in him.
Um, Leading up to that, I like how they introduced Pokorny's alcohol issues before he finally admitted he drinks too much.
It was kind of weird that he was down for that with the movie,
Hmm.
to like
Yeah,
let them show how much he was drinking because he was drinking quite a bit there. But
before he had admitted to it, he always seems drunk.
in all fairness,
Hmm.
though, there isn't much else to do in Wisconsin and Indianapolis.
Uh,
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a site I follow called Wisconsin Dive Bars. And it's just, I mean, it's really good shit.
uh, I mean that Midwest tends to be where those where substance issues tend to happen more than
Yeah,
much more
but
on the coast, surprisingly.
I think we even said this in a past episode. I think it was American
Oh yeah,
that
American Dream. No, the other documentary.
the they had the
Yeah.
documentary where it was in Wisconsin,
Uh-huh.
and it was just, yeah, that's just what they do up there.
Yeah.
More so than any other place.
Uh-huh.
That their statistics.
Mm-hmm. Loved that lute-shaped acoustic guitar at the con. This one guy, dressed as a bard, playing guitar, playing this lute-shaped instrument. I had to count the strings. It sounded like a guitar, so I just quickly counted the strings. It was a guitar, but it looked perfectly like a lute. Yeah, about the soundtrack, there were these guitar pieces interwoven through the film. Great music, but it was a touch too
It
loud.
was, yeah. But who could blame him? I think it was Jerry Marotta on drums.
Oh, okay. It just was hard to hear him talk over the music at points.
Sometimes, yeah.
Uh, Loved how excited he was about getting the new building next to a canal so that they could set up the pirate ship the game on.
Of course. Why wouldn't you? At first I was kind of like, man, that seems ostentatious. Yeah, I think that's what I would be doing too.
I mean, aside from the fact that his company blew the fuck up, uh, Pokorny is kind of the definition of lovable loser.
I kept thinking it was Patton Oswalt at first.
Uh,
Like he sounded exactly like him.
yeah, yeah.
But that was over 2,000 square feet, that place.
Uh,
I wonder what that ran him back then.
oh, I don't want to know.
But I mean, if he wants to cash out,
Uh,
I'm sure it's worth a shit ton
oh
more
yeah.
now.
If they haven't, this is almost a decade ago. They might have probably was a decade ago when it was filmed. So I'm sure they probably have moved to a bigger place now.
Yeah, I think it was 2014, like
Okay, so yeah,
on the
over a
according to
decade.
the tombstone.
Uh-huh. Speaking of which, got a bit choked up when he was talking about his parents after his mother's passing. That really put me on his side because I wasn't sure if I liked the guy at first.
I think what had me was just his stories about New York
Mm,
and just imagining growing up there in the early
yeah.
80s, you know, like
Hmm.
we kind of saw it from afar,
Right.
being in central Jersey
Right.
and the rare trip that we got to make into it.
Hmm.
But yeah, just growing up there, like not far after the drop dead years.
Hmm. Love the stoner metal when he's showing off how durable the Dwarvenaut is. Uh, because he takes this little piece, his buildings and stuff he builds is all modular. So he has this little piece of a wall. He's throwing it on the floor, banging it against a wall, just to show this one kid he's looking to sell to how it can't be broken. And then you
I
hear this
wonder,
like
like,
stoner
does that
metal over
scratch
top
up
of
the
it.
finish?
I don't know. I don't think it would if he was doing that. He was like rubbing it against the wall.
Yeah. So I think that was like a moment where I was like, oh wow, wait a minute, this shit is like really fucking
Yeah.
amazing. That like because I knew he was good like
Mhm.
with his art, but I
Yeah.
didn't know he was good with the chemistry of it all.
Well, I mean, if you're a sculptor, you know your materials, and
That's true.
it's probably some patented thing that he's either developed himself or had some company make for him, because he's calling it Dwarvenite and he never explains what it is. And I
I
didn't
mean, he
have a
was
chance to look on the site, but I'd be willing to bet it's never explained beyond that. It's probably
like he
very,
was
very
getting
secret.
compounds
Yeah.
like individually.
Mhm.
And he was getting from Blix too
Yeah.
when he in a pinch when they
Right.
were in a pinch, and Blix is fucking expensive if I
Okay.
remember right.
So it's probably some proprietary mix of things that he uses.
Yeah.
But overall, I really just liked how slowly they told the story about how the business started. Like, they don't feed you that in an info dump. It's just stretched out throughout the entire movie.
Really, it is the movie,
Yeah.
his story, the business story. I feel like there's some details of the business, story that's like a little left out because it was kind of like,
Yeah.
wait, when did he, what? Okay.
Mm. You're always going to have that in any documentary. There's always going to be stuff that they didn't quite think to cover or the person didn't really want to talk about or whatever.
Really, the focus is on this jump
Yeah.
to making these large
Hmm.
modules
No room for sequels or remakes on the brains.
on the brains.
I really liked it. I have to ding it a little bit for the audio issues and some of the kind of, I'll call it sloppy cinematography, but I'm still going 4.5.
I'm going four. I mean, it's a story worth listening to.
Mm,
There really isn't drama though.
no, no. Especially in
You know,
2025, knowing where Dwarven Forge is now.
Even then though, you do like, so what if he doesn't get $2 million,
Uh,
you know? I
well, he
mean,
said he had sunk
when
enough into that city set that if he didn't make 2 mil, they were going out of business.
sure, I mean, he said that, but I mean, if he had like 1.7 or 1.8,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, come
he could have
on.
gotten close and probably been fine.
Right. I had to look up to see like because they also didn't explain what the people got compensated
Uh,
for their Kickstarters.
right.
So, and like Reddit had like stuff from 12 years ago
Okay.
where people are receiving modules and stuff, different you know, depending on how much you gave, how much you got. Some people are like I got like a fucking it might have been too much, like a whole duffel bag's worth and it's heavy. So if you're like carrying this
Oh,
to another
wow.
place, he's like, but I'm gonna make it work
Uh,
'cause it's
um,
awesome.
I should mention on the actual play shows like Critical Role, where it's mostly used is during combat. They don't.
Okay, yeah, that
Most of the game they're just sitting around the table. You don't see any pieces, but the minute they have to roll initiative, the DM will walk off camera and come back with this big set that they constructed from Dwarven Forge and place the minis in it, and it's
oh
this big
wow,
reveal
okay.
of the combat situation.
So he'd have it already put
Yeah.
together
Oh
because
yeah.
all I was thinking was like, and it's part of the reason why we never used this was I thought it would, you know, delay the game too
No.
much, you
Yeah.
know?
They've talked. The DMs have talked about like being up all night constructing it because it's like we're talking about like the size of like a circular dining room table. That's like the entire set. With multiple areas, and it just covers the entire combat
And that's
scenario.
the other thing. We never had that much room. We were just like it
Right.
was a folding
Yeah.
playing card table
Uh-huh.
and with everybody's character sheets and my,
Mhm.
double shields with, like
Right.
all of my stuff.
Uh-huh. And if you don't have much room, you don't really have the money for Dwarven Forge, probably.
We barely had enough room to roll the dice,
Uh-huh.
honestly.
Right. So what have we learned?
Everyone needs a pirate ship, really.
And I learned that you can be an absolute mess and still be very successful, just as long as you're incredibly talented and have perfect timing.
Well, right.
And that's it for the Dwarvenaut. Until next time, when we'll be reviewing Galaxy Warriors, this will be fun. It's a modern redoing of like stuff like Beyond Battle Beyond the Stars.
Oh, wow.
Until then, of course, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life,
There
there